and welcome me.
Okay, thank you. A couple of hours ago, I gave a talk in this room about extensive reading and what it is and why we do it and some of the background. The slides from that presentation are available online, and I'll just write for you the website where that is. And this PowerPoint that I have here, in fact, all the PowerPoints that I've been doing here at Kotesol will be available on this site. So I'll just put it up for you now, and then you can download it, use it and abuse it as much as you like, throw it away, sell it if you can make money. I'm totally cool by that, no problem at all. Just buy me a beer one day. Okay, so it's there, available. Please feel free to download it if you wish. I'll leave that there for a minute or two before I move this across. You can see two things down the bottom here, Compass Media. The other one down the bottom here, I just want to make a bit of a plug, a kind of a personal plug, which is a new website which is called extensivereadingcentral.com. And I just want to mention that briefly. I hope Compass don't mind. This is a completely free website, completely new. I have my own website on extensive reading, and there are 2 or 3 others out there. extensivereading.net and various others. And one of the problems we have in extensive reading is that a lot of this knowledge, this information is very fragmented. It's in many different places. So the idea of ER Central is to be the center, the central place where we can meet to discuss and leave information there. And it's a brand new website, still being built. My own website and the one that the extensivereading.net information will all be put into this simple one place. I'll be closing down my website, and so will extensivereading.net be closing down eventually. And I've got some information from Rocky Nelson and various others, and it will be put up there. There'll be handouts up there, stuff for teachers, stuff for students, stuff for authors, a place for publishers like Compass to announce things. So we've got a new series out, so the whole community can do that. Can get some information. There will be, when I put them up, there'll be like discussion lists, there'll be activity places, there's actually going to be an online bookstore for Amazon, but since Korea doesn't have Amazon, it doesn't really matter. But that's just a way to get people to do this. The site is completely free. The money that's generated from the Amazon bookstore is to pay for the development cost of the website. It costs us $600 a year just for bandwidth to run the site. So we're not going to make any money out of the Amazon bookstore, but we're just trying to do something. So it's cost my partner and myself some money to put the website up, but we want to give it for free, totally free for everybody to use. Advice for teachers, you can blog, leave comments, discussion lists. There are like 100 different videos on there about extensive reading and so on and so on. So please, if you know some information in Korea, some Korean links or Korean information, or you want to translate some of the pages, please feel free to do that. Okay, so let's move on. Oceans of fun reading online. So what's extensive reading? It's the fast, fluent reading of enjoyable, language-rich texts. That's what we're going to be looking at, language-rich texts. There's a focus on comprehension and not on study. And this is really quite key here. Extensive reading is not the same as intensive reading. Intensive reading, of course, is the reading of short texts, often with some difficult words, followed up by comprehension questions and activities. And the aim there is to study or learn about language. That's what intensive texts do. They're the standard texts that we meet, or students meet. Extensive reading is quite different. There's a focus on comprehension. So we use storybooks. The focus is on comprehension, as I say, not on study. There are very few, or if any, tests. But if there is a test, it's a comprehension test. Usually short. The aim is to practice already learnt language and make access faster and more automatic. The idea here is that we want to build reading speed. We want to build the speed at which students can recognize words. And so we do that. Thus, in extensive reading, the text should be easy. They should be easy for the students to use. So why read? Well, there's a rich variety of input for the students to meet. Wider variety than you get just by your fixed course book. If you have a full course book, everybody reads the same material at the same pace. all the material is selected by the teacher, and therefore, if you have a wide variety of texts, many, many different texts, like in the Reading Ocean series, is over 600 texts for your students to read. It's very, very useful for them to have this variety, fiction, non-fiction. The user can decide the pace. That's really important. On a course book, the using of reading as a course book together as a class, everybody goes at the same pace because they all have to move to Unit 2 at the same pace. If you're a fast reader and you finish the exercise, you have to wait for the slow readers. Or sometimes the teacher may finish and say, okay, everybody, right, now do the comprehension questions, but some kids haven't even finished reading it yet, right? And so, you're going to find that with extensive reading, you're able to choose how fast you read, what you read, at the level that you read as well. And also you can reread stuff. If you don't want to read, if you want to, you can read the material 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times. Or you can listen to the audio that comes with it. So it's reading is a foundation skill for studying and practicing a language. And I believe it's the most important skill. The reason for that is because for people in an EFL environment, their access to text is quite difficult. So for listening, for example, there's very few chances for Korean students to actually listen to English, other than just online or through audio. To actually listen and talk to a native speaker, the chances are really, really low that they can do that without paying an awful lot of money. And so the foundation skill in an EFL environment often is reading. It's the only way they can get lots and lots and lots of text. It's very, very difficult to have this interactive language development without having lots of natives around. Of course, vocabulary is great for vocabulary growth and helps students recognize patterns and raise their awareness of grammar patterns, vocabulary patterns, and so on. Why read online? Well, we know nowadays that kids are digital natives. They spend a lot of their time now in front of screens, whether it's a mobile phone or a TV or a computer or some sort of tablet. They're spending more time in front of screens than they are actually playing outside and doing that kind of thing. So it's very important that kids do learn, very important that we meet the students where they are. They are developed in a digital world. Many of the kids now are in high school, have never known a world without the internet. Have never known a world without the internet, whereas many of us, the internet was relatively new, even just 20 years ago when it first started. So it's important that the kids, we develop them to be digitally literate, that they can read digitally online, and they are good at learning and reading in the particular ways that students read online. Reading online is a different experience in many ways from reading on paper. Reading online, we tend to find that people read differently. So people with a paper book will read a long text and continue to read a long text. But they tend not to read long texts online. They tend to read about 1,000 words and then give up. Typical reading experience. Yes? They get kind of tired out. Because when they're online on the computer, there's other things happening. Suddenly an email message comes. There's a Skype message comes through. A Twitter message comes through. Or, oh, that's right, I need to remember to do this. And so they can click out and do something different very, very easily. So they can click away in reading environments. So we need to make sure that the students, we give them practice to read digitally online with engaging materials. Also, the reading environments that we've got now are multi-skill environments. So you'll find that there will be video there as well as audio. The books don't offer that. So there's a way to be able to read and listen, or read, listen, and watch. Get immediate feedback through quizzes on your success. With a graded reader, for example, there may be questions at the back of the book which you can then take, but you have to wait until you speak to the teacher to see if you're right or wrong. Whereas with an online environment, you can find out immediately if you're right or wrong, yeah? And that instant feedback is really important. So it's a rich, enhanced multitasking environment with enhanced video, audio, sometimes moving images, and all kind of games. It can be a bit more engaging for some people. But it's important to understand that there are different levels of reading that people read at. And we need to be clear about these different levels. So the first one is the kind of decoding level, where you meet a word and your idea there is to just simply break the word down so you can understand it. So apple, right? So you're decoding it and trying to get the meaning. Okay? So that first level, and they need to try and work out what it means and how to say them subvocally. Subvocally, I mean in your head. A lot of us, when we read, we actually say the words in our head when we read. Yes? And this is a very normal, very natural thing to do. And for people who want to really, really build reading speed, and I'm sure some of you heard these people who can read 700, 800, 900 words a minute, these are the people who can switch off that automatic voice inside their heads. Because if you think about it, there's a natural limit to how quickly you can say words in your head. Because you tend to say them at the kind of speed that your mouth would work. You know, if you try and speak the fastest you possibly can, you do 300 words a minute. Somebody like, say, JFK, right? But most people don't do that. So if you're subvocalizing, if your head is saying the words at the time that you're reading the words, you're going to limit your reading speed to how fast you can actually say words. So the idea is to try and switch that off if you can do. So by reading lots and lots and being trained how to switch that off, students can build their reading speed. But that's another talk. The second level is the literal reading of a text, where they will read a sentence and just take the exact meaning. Yes? And they will be, it's a kind of surface understanding, usually based on facts, details. And this type of reading is often tested with multiple choice tests. Yes? Where, what, when, who type of questions. These types of questions test literal reading. When did it happen? Who did this? How, and so on, yes? Now, the interpretive or inferential type of reading is a kind of reading between the lines, where the information that you have to answer questions about or read about isn't actually stated, but you can kind of understand what was going on. Yes? So you can kind of understand what's happening without actually reading the words itself. There's a kind of rich story that's behind there. So it taps into things that are unstated, prior knowledge, what you know already about the world, helps you to make educated guesses or forces you to make educated guesses, to compare or to classify certain things. And so these kind of questions may be why questions or what if questions or how questions, yes? The last form is the evaluative reading, okay, where you take what was said and you analyze and synthesize it and adapt it to other situations. So you're reading a story and you then start to discuss, why is this story important? You know? What does the death of Anna Karenina say about da-da-da-da-da-da? What's Tolstoy mean when da-da-da-da-da-da? Okay? That kind of level. And I don't mean do you like it, do you not like it? You know, where you look much deeper into a richer environment. Yes. And you're connecting that knowledge to your own life, evaluating your characters and statements. Now, clearly, with these different levels, kids who are 7 years old in Korea here with a relatively basic level of English, they're not probably going to be able to do this, right? They're probably going to be able to do that, this. This might be questionable. Sometimes at the higher levels, they may be able to deal with these types of questions. And this is going to be quite difficult. So for the lower level students and sort of the reading oceans level, it's really kind of aimed more at this level rather than the higher levels. The very top end here where they've got the classic readers, you may be able to work a little bit more about comparing a story, this story and that story is possible. But we need to understand that not everything in here, in the series, Reading Oceans, and any reading series, would in fact allow students to be able to do all of these things. So graded readers are graded. They go for different levels. And we start typically down here for EFL learners, particularly in an environment like Korea, we start off with some phonics. And then we give the students the easy vocabulary down the bottom here. We have reading materials, which is very easy, with easy grammar. They master this, they get good at it, they move up to the next level, the next level, the next level, and so on, until they get more difficult vocabulary and grammar. And so they're sort of stepped up like that until eventually they get to native texts. Okay? And that's the idea here. So, notice this here is the end goal. This is not the starting point. Yes? We don't give a 5-year-old a Tolstoy or Jane Eyre. Yes? We start them with something very easy, with very few pictures, very, very few words, and we step them all up carefully in a very graded, which is why they're called graded readers, graded process. And that's what the Compass materials do. We have to be careful the students read at the right level. If they're reading something that's too difficult, it's going to be study reading rather than fluency reading. We have to understand that most native texts are often too difficult for most learners. Too difficult for most learners. At the very, very lowest level... Oh, thank you for the coffee. That's very kind of you. No, just joking, just joking. Most native texts tend to be quite difficult. At the very, very lowest level, sort of the cat in the hat type of level, where there's only 200-300 different words, these are okay. You can use some of these materials from other countries. They're fine. But once you get above that, you'll find that many of the words very quickly become very low-frequency words. The reason for that is that the materials that are written for first language learners are written for first language learners. So when you start reading at age 5 or 6 years old, you already know 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 words. You already know most of the grammar. Right? You already know that. So when you're reading in your first language, what you're doing is mapping something you already know to a spelling. You already know the pronunciation, you know the grammar, you know how it works. Yeah? So it's a relatively easy task to do. You can build your reading speed quickly. Second language learners, they don't have that second language grammar, that second language vocabulary. So they're learning the grammar, the vocabulary, pronunciation at the same time. It's a far more difficult task. At the very lowest level, it's okay, but very quickly it can get out of control. So do be aware that most Korean students won't be able to deal with native text beyond that very basic level. Some students, who of course have returnees, they've spent lots and lots of time in English, they get 5, 6, 8 hours of English a day, surely, yes, they can deal with native text, but the vast majority cannot. So please be aware of that. Okay, so students need a carefully programmed learning environment that enables this initial decoding and encoding through phonics. We need a phonics environment to start off early to match the sounds and the spelling together. Deepen this knowledge with decodable reading. Decodable reading means where the reading is programmed so that the words are very easy to work out. No difficult words in there. Easy, regular spelled words. And expanded and entertaining in unique ways to enrich their reading and step reading environment. So, what's Reading Oceans? Here we go. It's an online reading environment containing some 3D animation, nursery rhymes and songs, complete phonics course with 70 decodable readers, 600 stories from a wide range of genres at 30 levels of difficulty. 30 levels of difficulty, okay? So that's great because if you have a wide range of levels, it means that they can slowly move up and they can feel a sense of progress. If you've got only 6 levels to go up, it feels much harder to move to the next, level. It's so far away. But nice little stepped ones, you can see progress and feel a sense of progress. You can either read, listen, or watch, and we'll look at some of this later. You've got comprehension check, follow-up questions. There's a learner management system for the teacher to trace all of the learners. What are they reading? How much have they learned? And so on. How are they going in their tests? And all that sort of stuff. And there's a placement test when you join. They take an initial test when they start, when they log in for the first time. It places them into the learning environment. And we'll look at that in a second. There are also some achievement tests. At the end of each block of texts, they will take a test. When you've taken, I think it's 10 or 20, read 10 or 20 books, you then will take a test. So, this is what it looks like. This is the login page, the main page here. And we'll look at this in a bit more detail a bit later. I think it's nice, very colourful. I think it's nice graphics, yeah? Where were the graphics done for this? Locally? Yeah? Yeah, this is lovely. I think it's really, for kids, I think this is really engaging and nice. I love the concept of Reading Oceans. So that's the login. This is the login page, so you type in your ID and password, which you would be given, of course. And this here is the kind of site map. This is the kind of material which you can see there. I'm sorry it's not very clear, But up here you've got Reading Oceans, the books, My Report, the Teacher's Corner, how to join, what do you do if you forget your membership, update your profile, how to pay, and so on. And customer services, fax, download material, technical support, and so on. So this, of course, is the teacher's side. All the parent, yes, would use this, would look at this. The student would see something different. The student wouldn't see, of course, the teacher's corner and all that sort of stuff. Okay? So this is your first visit. For the student, what they can do is there's a level chart, there's a level test, and there's a sample view, and there's some advice here about what to do. I think maybe if that was simplified a bit, that would be great. Okay, down the left here, you'll see some menus. There are 4 different things. Down here, this is clearly the teacher's corner, so this is advice for the teachers here. These are the menus here. Reading Oceans is the main menu. So there's some extensive reading, or there's a Reading Oceans, your first visit, and a sample view. The books, where you get your own bookshelf, the books that you're working with, some nursery rhymes or some phonics for the students, some readers, and some different resources here for the teacher. And down here you've got the reports, achievement tests, and an area called My Ocean. So this is the main page, as I said. Come on. All right, so we start off with a placement test. So that's where you would take the placement test down here, the level test. Okay, so there's a flashcard test. Let me show you how it works. There's English to Korean receptive test, and there's a reading comprehension test. And at the end, you get your test result. So let's see how it goes. So this is an example here where they have to choose the best picture for the word. These are the pictures. They've got the word up there, and of course, that's the one, I don't know, or next. Okay? So that's the vocab test. The next one is where they would see the word check, and they have to choose the right Korean one here. Okay? So there's an assumption kids can read Korean, yes? And the next one here is where there is a reading text. This is a reading text down here, and they have some comprehension questions, like 5 and 6 and 7 comprehension questions. Okay? So this combination of the discrete vocabulary, the translation, and the reading comprehension test all get together to produce some kind of a score. And here, your level is 10, and it gives you some kind of a map of what you need to do. So this is the graded reader level, and the Lexile level, the RAS level, accelerated reader level, and various other sort of internationally well-known levels are all there for you to see, or for you to see about your students. The students won't know about this, of course, but they're just told it's level 10. Okay, so that gives you some idea of where they are. And in the LMS, the Learning Management System, you can see where each student would start. So the student then has some choices of what they can read. So either nursery rhymes, phonics, or their readers. And you can see there's 5 levels here of nursery rhymes, 5 levels of phonics, and there are 30 levels of readers. Okay. So this is a bookshelf area, and these are all the levels here. This is for the readers. You can see it says readers here, yeah? I think that's a pointer. Do I have a colour pointer? There we go. Yes, there we go. So this is the reader's environment. This is not the nursery rhymes or phonics environment. This is the reader's environment. And here you can see all the various levels, so level 1 to 20, yes? So depending on where they are, they would then click these various sections. And if they want to go to nursery rhymes or phonics, they can click here as well. This has given us some information here about what level they are, where we think they need to be. Okay. So then we're now looking at the nursery rhymes section. And you can see here there are 5 different sections. There's the flashcards, the rhymes, a watching area, sing along, and if they wish they can print some of these stories as well. So let's have a look at this. This here is the flashcard environment. Oh, these are just some text down the bottom that they can choose. So this is a flashcard environment here. That's the first item there. And what they do is, how are you, my friend? And they have to choose which one is which. So clearly that's the right answer there. They would click their flashcard learning that pattern. In the rhyming section, here we are, they would have this. This is what they're doing. I think there's an audio that comes with this. In the watching section, they've got a video. This is quite cute, actually. You can see them all moving around and doing the stuff that they do. It's quite cute. It's great animation. So this is the one that they can do to just watch what's going on, and they're practicing How Are You, My Friend? And the sing-along is the same thing, but with a chance for you to actually sing with it as well. And then finally, where are we? Here we go. So then at the end, if they choose, they can print this as well, which is a really nice feature that if teachers need this, they can use that as well. But no colour. In the phonics environment, time to get up. That's the sign for him to leave, yes. You made him go. I knew he was going anyway. You take care. You got a plane. You take care. See you back there. All right. So in the phonics environment here, there are 5 levels. And this is the kind of things that they'll be practicing. You can't quite see here, but it's like A, B, C. These are just the alphabet letters, okay? And this is practicing each different... So this is practicing J, K, and L, I, L, and so on and so on. You can see, you know how phonics works, right? So this is an example. These are the 5 levels, and this is what's practiced at the 5 levels. Level 1 is single letter sounds. Level 2, short vowel sounds, long vowel sounds, double letter consonant sounds, and double letter vowel sounds. So all together there, I don't know, maybe 70, 80 different types of phonics activities that the students are given chances to practice with, which is great. This is an example of what they do for phonics. So they're practicing here the OI form, so oil, boil, soil, toilet, that kind of thing. And they can listen to these as well. So they can listen and match with the spelling. In the reader's environment, there are, as I say, 30 different levels up here. This is level 6, and you can see all the various things. You can see some shells here, and we'll come and talk about that a little bit later. Down here, you've got 3 little buttons. You can't actually click the book to get it to read, because you've got to choose whether you want to read it, video, or quiz, right? So if you just click it, the system doesn't know which one of the 3 you want, so you have to click the little icon there. So these are some nursery rhyme books. These are the phonics books. And again, you can see down here, listening, watch, and you can play there. This is an example of a story. So they would go through and read this. And you can see down the bottom here, there's some audio that comes with it as well. I can't find my roller skates. This is the title, of course, yeah? And you get the story. Now, down here, there's 3 buttons, I should say. This one shows us that you can see the text, and then here you can switch it off. Or you can go back to the beginning, and this one here is the sound on or off. So you have some options of reading, or reading while listening, or just listening. Yeah? And you can see there that the buttons are off. Yeah, these 2 are off now, yeah? These stars here refer to your kind of bonus points for what kind of things you've been doing, what levels that you've completed, and so on. And this here is the number of people who've logged in, so this is for the teachers there. There's an achievement test at the end of a block of texts that your students have been reading. There's an achievement test that they would take. And again, this is some advice about what their scores are. I haven't actually taken the test myself, but what would happen is you'd have your data about which achievement test you've passed would all appear down here. So the student would know how they're doing, yeah? This one here are some statistics about your reading status. So here, this is how far you've got in the phonics scale. This is how far you've got with all the various readers. So what will happen is you get a kind of graph that will probably end up something like this about how you are. So the students can visually see where they are and what they're doing. Yeah? This here is the learning environment, where, I beg your pardon, the learner management environment, where it tells you what you've done, how many times you've read it, total of times here, the average score you've got, and the number of different shells that you got, and the date and the time, and so on, how you did with it, what the results were, and so on, your level history. So there's quite a lot of statistics there. I'm not sure if the students would understand this. Probably the teacher would have to explain what these things are. And my guess is in the future, this will all be in a Korean interface at some point. Yeah. These are the various levels that you've got. You've got the different levels down here, and all the various scales across the top here, the Lexile, the accelerated reader levels, RAS levels, and so on. These are the various levels and how they all fit together. So you can compare the Compass Reading Oceans levels with various scales right down to level 20. This is the final chart, which comes from the brochure, I believe. And here again, you've got the various scales down here. It's the same information that's put in a different way. So you can see how each level is tied into various reading schemes throughout the world. Another thing that they offer, which is very nice for teachers, is a guide to extensive reading. What is extensive reading? What are graded readers? How do you set up and run a program? How can learners know which books are the right level and stuff and stuff and stuff? And this is downloadable here for the teachers as a guide. Compass have very generously done that. And that's very useful for the teachers.